Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Arundhati Ramnan, and these are the top headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. OYO has completed its acquisition of G6 Hospitality, operators of the iconic Motel 6 and Studio 6 brands, from Blackstone Real Estate for $525 million. The deal is projected to increase OYO's EBITDA to over 2,000 crore rupees in FY26. Motel 6 is expected to contribute an EBITDA of over 630 crore rupees in the coming financial year. Fintech unicorn Razorpay is offering ESOPs worth 1 lakh rupees each to all its existing employees to mark its 1 decade in operations. The company has an employee base of over 3,000. This translates into a total ESOP value of over 30 crore rupees. India's SpaceX mission, intended to develop and demonstrate technology required to dock and undock spacecraft in space, will be launched using PSLV C-60 on December 30th from Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota. On December 21st, the launch vehicle was integrated and moved to the first launch pad for further integration of satellites and launch preparations. Elon Musk's startup xAI has raised $6 billion from investors in its latest funding round as it battles stiff competition in the artificial intelligence market. The firm, whose flagship product is the Grok chatbot, garnered support from US venture capitalists, chip makers NVIDIA and AMD, and investment funds from Saudi Arabia and Qatar, among others. Apple is closing in on a historic $4 trillion stock market valuation, powered by investors cheering progress in the company's long-awaited AI enhancements to rejuvenate sluggish iPhone sales. The company has pulled ahead of NVIDIA and Microsoft in the race and was valued at about $3.85 trillion as of the last close. Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. But on what's brewing today, Finex, a skilling platform focused on the banking, financial services and insurance sector, has raised $6 million in a seed funding round from impact investor Eleva Equity. According to the India Skills Report, India's education sector faces a pressing challenge in preparing graduates for the demands of the job market. According to recent reports, over 50% of Indian graduates are considered unemployable due to the lack of practical skills and industry-specific knowledge. Finex is a corporate training company that helps students in the BFSI sector in India become job-ready. Joining me now to discuss this further is Himanshu Vyapak, the founder of Finex. Himanshu, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street. You know, you launched your firm in 2019. What led you to start this journey and start Finex? What's the challenge or gap that you saw that you needed to solve for?
First of all, thank you, Arundhati, for having me here. Being in the BFSI corporate ecosystem for over 2.5 decades, the biggest challenge was the students, we were looking for, we never got students, job-ready students. And when we ask students, are you getting jobs? You don't get those jobs. So clearly, this gap has only increased in the last few years. And that was an important factor in starting Finex. Also, I think this is one space, specifically skilling is one space, which is at an intersection of a social impact, good economics, and a large unmet need of the corporate India.
Right. So you're solving for that gap where people become more employable, right, especially in the sector. And you've raised the $6 million for expansion for your technology and to diversify your product offerings. We'll come to all of it in a bit, but take us through what you currently have on offer and what are your new products in the pipeline. Take us through how your platform works, essentially.
So clearly, from our perspective, the value which we offer to our learners is we offer industry-relevant courses and certifications. These set of learners are trained by our panel of industry experts who have an experience, on-ground experience of working in the industry. And we have been in the training business for over 2 decades. So, the content is in an ever fast-growing BFSI domain. The content is very contextual and application-focused. What we do at this point of time is a set of offerings which is, kind of short courses, right from short courses to joint management programs. So we have short vocational courses, which we kind of embed with the college curriculum. These are 30 to 40-hour courses. Then we have specific industry-recognized certification across various domains like stock markets, wealth management, investment banking, and more. And we also have trained students on NISM and other regulatory exams, which are kind of mandatory for most of the roles in BFSI.
Right.
And now we are also working with corporates to offer job assured programs, so that the students can not only be ready for the industry, but also ready for that specific role.
Right. So a lot of, programs that you have there. And speaking of, job assured programs, can you sort of take us through the number of students that you've currently catered to? How many of these students have you actually helped successfully find a job? And what about teacher training and skilling?
So there are two parts of it. In terms of the number of students which we will impact this year in terms of training through our skilling courses and certifications would be about 15,000 across 12 states. Typically, the students who would want to get into jobs, which is there, our platform is building up. And the current trend shows that about 60 to 65% of them get placed, either self-placed or through our placement tie-ups after doing these courses.
Right. So if you could sort of, then take us through the kind of revenues you're currently seeing. What are the targets you have for 2025? And what about profitability?
So, till now, for the last few years, we have been a bootstrap setup. We've just raised our first institutional round. I can't divulge the numbers as yet, but, we are profitable. And, the aspiration, the way we, kind of look at ourselves is that in the next 5 years, every year we should be impacting 100,000 students every year through our, skilling and employability programs.
So you want to impact 100,000 students every year, and also you are profitable at this current point. But, apart from BFSI, right, you're also looking to enter the IT market, right? So how soon do you hope to enter the space? And, any other sectors that you're seeing a big skilling gap in?
So, so the way we look at it is finance and technology are no longer career skills. They are, in fact, life skills now. So even if I'm a doctor, you would expect a doctor to be proficient on at least the finance skill, right from a student to an engineer to a doctor. All of these are now there. So I think these two, and the second part is both technology and finance kind of contribute almost about over 25% of Indian GDP. So one, that whole space is, as interlinkages, is no longer a career skill, but a life skill. From our perspective, BFSI has been the first journey. Now we are looking at inorganic acquisition. We are exploring some options in the, in the technology training space to kind of add up to our programs and the way forward.
So looking at inorganic opportunities in the IT space, any companies that you can tell us that you're already in talks with?
No, unfortunately, I can't share those names right now, but we are in talks with them.
All right, so you are in talks, but also parts of the funds that you've raised will go towards geographic expansion, right? Which cities are you looking to enter? Where are you seeing the most demand coming from? And what about tier 2 and beyond cities?
So, our focus is, while our presence would be there in the tier 1 cities, but tier 2 is predominantly the state capitals beyond the metro location is what we want to start off now in the first phase, and then go further down to, kind of cities like Kolhapur or Aurangabad, and the tier 3 locations is where we want to go further down. But in the first 2 years, is the tier 1 and tier 2 locations is the first focus to build up here. Because most of the corporate placement opportunities are coming up from these opportunities. So first we want to cater that and then further go down.
All right, so tier 1 and tier 2 first, and then you look at going further down. All right, Himanshu, thank you so much for being here with us on Startup Street and outlining your growth plan for the next 2 years.
Thank you very much, Anandi. Thank you for it.
Moving on, just months after making headlines for a first-of-its-kind low-cost chip, Chennai-based semiconductor startup Mindgrove has secured a Series A funding of $8 million. The round saw participation from Rocketship VC, Speciale Invest and Mela Ventures, while existing partners, Peak 15 Partners, Whiteport Capital and Nishchay Goel have stayed on board. CNBC-TV18's Jude Sanit meets the founders to find out how they plan on using the money and what lies ahead. Here's a slice of that conversation.
The first meeting is usually formal, but then after that, most of the meetings are where we invite them in, we talk about a whole lot of things. We just had a wavelength. I mean, with our existing investors, they're very supportive and the wavelength is anyway there. But we just had a real click with the new people who are coming on board, which is Rocketship and Mela.
Right, all right. So what was the conversation like with both these new investors? What drew them in really?
What draws anybody into this field is the fact, I mean, it's hard, but then we are in a position where we've proven that we can actually execute at least the technology part of it. And that is drawing a lot of interest.
How do you plan to go about using these funds now? Where will they be deployed? I believe production is one area you're looking at, and also enhanced engineering as well. Take me through the broad roadmap of where these funds will be deployed.
Absolutely. So as Shashwat said, patience is power. And it took us about $2.3 million in seed funding to get out there and say, the pitch for the $2.3 million was we want to build a chip. And we did. Now the pitch for the $8 million was two broad things. The first is to bring the second chip to the point where the first chip is right now, which is pre-production, sampling with customers on the verge of going to production, full production.
And since you bring up production itself, and the aim and the objective is to go about helping that happen, what timeline are we looking at to actually see production hit the floor and hit the market?
As things stand right now, we expect the first production batches, should the timelines stay as they are. And supply chain is a fun thing given the geopolitics of today.
Right.
We are expecting the first batch of production chips to arrive sometime in the middle of 2025, okay. July, August, September. Depends on how things, it's a cascade. So somebody has to give a purchase order, and then A, B, C, D, E. So everything goes well. That is the timeline we are looking at to bring out the first chips that will be deployed with customers.
But what does this mean, Shashwat, in terms of revenue itself? I'm sure your investors before coming on board would have been told in terms of what the growth prospects are like. What are they? Help us understand.
So I'm not going to quote specific revenue numbers because things are still up in the air a lot.
Right.
But if we actually get these two chips into production in the kind of way that we're talking about, we have enough to actually very, very comfortably meet the valuation that we are raising at. Whatever money our investors have put into it will come back to them.
Will be paid back plentiful.
Plentiful,
right.
yeah.
What rate do you hope to grow? Has that number been arrived at least?
The easiest answer there is as fast as possible, because
It's the same thing the last time we spoke.
Yes, yeah. So, as co-founders, what you want to do is rock it up, right? So, having said that, dollar fluctuations play a very crucial role in the supply chain. So, and we are in a phase worldwide where there's a lot of different things happening which are not necessarily in any trader's control, to use a very broad term for import and export. So those factors play well. The first chip is targeted at application use cases like biometric devices, consumer appliances, and so on. Those two examples that I gave you should make it pretty much easy for you to see the kind of market that is available just in India for those kinds of devices. Whereas the second chip is for effectively anything with a camera on it. So CCTVs, infotainment systems, access control system that use cameras, face detection, all of those kinds of things are what we are targeting.
Video door phones.
Video door phones are those kinds of things that we are targeting the second chip for.
All right.
Again, if you look at the available market market and the addressable market in India. And if you start estimating that you take a percentage of that market, you'd be able to see what kind of revenues we're talking about, and the numbers are big.
And even as you go about expanding, and on multiple fronts, and the second ship also comes into the equation, what's the timeline as far as future funding is concerned, Shashwat? Have you figured out how much you will need and by when?
The best course for us right now is that we don't need to raise for a little while. So we can use what we have and the revenues to grow out the business as a business. And we raise the next amount of funding that we need only when we need it to build a new product, or we need to unlock a different vertical, something like that. That would be the ideal case of the way we would like to operate.
And the normal course of action, of course, would be to go about expanding on that front. So I have to ask you then, what are the innovations can be expected from the Mindgrove stables?
Absolutely. So this is something I love to answer, but I have to be, unfortunately, as vague as he is. What we are doing right now is what we call technology capital. He calls it fundamental technology, but I call it technology capital. The thing here is we are building certain fundamental items with the idea to be as nimble as possible going forward. What we are trying to do, to use, as I like to very often do, is to give you a food analogy, is to build out all the ingredients and components of a thali, and then what exact thali that you assemble together depends on who comes to eat.
On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, Vashishtha Research Private Limited, a robotics-based startup, is betting big on India's aerospace and defense sector. A rapid fire with the firm's founder on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. The United Arab Emirates recently hosted the Inaugural Founders Retreat in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which saw participation from founders of 13 Indian unicorn startups and 5 publicly listed companies. The platform facilitated discussions around opportunities in the bilateral investment partnership and how the UAE complements India's startup success story. Estimates suggest that UAE investors have injected close to $20 billion worth of capital into the Indian economy since 2000. Aishwarya Anand caught up with His Excellency Abdul Nasir Al Shali, the PhD, the UAE ambassador to India, to discuss more on these lines. Take a look.
So the first question that I want to address is help us understand what was the idea behind, Founders Retreat event. With what aim did you organize this?
So we started with establishing the UAE-India SIPA Council in New Delhi under the embassy, and we started doing all of those events in terms of business roundtables or what we call the UICC roundtables, and we got to know so many startups, entrepreneurs, unicorns. I visited 14 Indian states. I went to research parks, campuses, and I got to know that there is quite substantial potential in terms of entrepreneurship and startup ecosystem in India, and we can actually do a lot together in terms of scaling those up and making sure that they can succeed, not just by being in the UAE alone, but being both in India and in the UAE. And this is how we decided eventually to bring them all together in one room and have someone speak to them in terms of what could they be offered here in terms of access to capital, infrastructure, scaling up their businesses, being not only in the UAE market and selling the UAE market, but also in the Indian market selling it to it, and getting to try out their products and services in a country where there are tens of nationalities living, which would also help you and enable you to expand in global markets in the future.
Correct. I was just here covering GITEX Global a month ago, so I saw the influx of the startups that participated. So UAE is definitely, and especially Dubai, if I have to speak, is really emerging as the frontier for a lot of startups to come and set up their base here. So I want to understand that in terms of for forging that culture forward, what more is in the pipeline that we can expect in the next 1 year?
Well, so the founders' mentality is in the DNA of the country. The country has been founded in 1971, and no one thought that would be possible. No one thought that the union would continue and be as it is. And today we see the UAE as a testament to all of that being forced. And I think this is what is quite inspiring to everyone to come and start or establish their businesses here, or even have their business somewhere else and have part of that business in the UAE. Now, over the coming years, I think you will see more of those kind of engagements. You will see us expanding our network, getting to diversify our outreach in terms of Indian states and in terms of the various sectors that we would like to see explore the investment and business opportunities in the UAE.
Talking about sectors, of course, artificial intelligence is right now a big focus area for UAE. I want to understand that in that sector specifically, what's the kind of talent that you're looking to get from India? And the ones that have already set up, what's that space looking like?
Well, in terms of AI, it's one of the key sectors that we have been focusing on over the past couple of years. And this will continue to be the case because it's not just about AI, but how can you use AI in terms of all kinds of applications, whether it's in business, whether it's in education, whether it's in healthcare. And I believe the Indian market provides quite the market in terms of being able to scale up, to test whatever AI-driven technologies and applications at a massive scale. And all of this is quite important because when you deal with AI, it's not just about what you can do with it, but also about the feedback that goes into it to further improve the system. And so looking at how the UAE is working when it comes to utilizing AI in different services being offered in different businesses, and then looking at the massive potential in terms of talent and market access and size in India, the opportunities are immense and they're endless.
Vashishtha Research, a robotics-based startup, is betting big on India's aerospace and defense sector. It is expecting its revenue to grow by nearly twofold next year. At the sideline of Huddle Global, held in Trivandrum, Jude Sanit spoke to Saurabh Chatterjee, the founder of Vashishtha Research, to understand the different facets of the startup and the big opportunity that's awaiting for the company.
Saurabh, great to have you with us here on CNBC-TV18. First question, what is the name of your startup?
Vashishtha Research Private Limited. So we are into aerospace and defense sector.
Okay, and one sentence, what exactly is it that you do?
We are pioneers in indigenous robotics technology for composites manufacturing.
And what exactly is the problem that you are solving?
So in India, we have very few automated solutions for composite manufacturing. And this needs to be imported, and the technology is not there in India.
And what is the solution to the problem?
So we have indigenously developed certain products like filament binding machines and also its software, and we are providing this solution to Indian suppliers for a relatively low cost.
Okay. How much will you do in revenue this year?
So we'll be doing around 1.2 crores.
And what are revenue projections for the years ahead?
So we'll project around 2 crores for the next year.
Okay. And more importantly, what is the one key differentiator that sets you apart from competitors in this space?
So mainly it's affordability and also the consulting services that we provide.
All right.
So we give the customers the guidance since we are into aerospace and defense. So we have a good knowledge base, and that is helpful for our customers.
And how much funding have you raised thus far?
So we have raised 24 lakhs from angel investment and another 20 lakhs in grants.
And what's the one wow factor that you've encountered in your startup journey thus far?
So I would say a wow factor is when we did our first export to Spain. That was last year. So that gave us the confidence that we can build the world-class technology solutions, not just importing them.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
So we hope to be an established company in this sector. We hope to make our mark on the composites industry in India. And we should have all our products recognized as a world standard.
All right. Great speaking with you. Thank you so very much.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned.